everyone, it's my recap of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13, Episode 11, Pop Goes the Queens. So this is the branding challenge, which a few weeks ago I had kind of posed a question of like, what are the reoccurring challenges that happen every time like we have Snatch Game? And someone had mentioned the branding challenge, which I hadn't really thought of as a reoccurring, but it's been around forever, so they are correct. We start out with even the pit crew knows quiz, which I thought was a little weird because have we ever established that the pit crew is supposed to be dumb? I mean, we're not. Everyone, this would have already pointed out in the sneak peek, pointed out that Bryce, the redhead one, is like an aerospace engineer from UCLA, my alma mater. Woohoo! I was an engineer there too. Anyway, but they said this like even the pit crew should know, and I kind of was like, do we assume that they're dumb? I guess that's the idea, that you either have bronze or brain, although like lifting weights doesn't require any particular lack of talent. Lots of people I know are smart. So anyway, they go through, they ask questions that aren't even like, what's funny is they're not even, I guess maybe that was the point, is they're not about being stupid questions, they're about Drag Race specific, but then I think the pit crew is there, most of them watch. Anyway, lots of like, whose catchphrase is this? And then they had a math question, which I feel like they added at the last minute just for Candy. Because when we start out, Candy doesn't know the difference between 2,500 and 25,000. I don't know, after watching a lot of seasons of Drag Queens, they don't seem to have, it's not surprising to run into a drag queen who doesn't know specific sets of knowledge. That's all I'll say about that. Anyway, we see Jada Edson's Hall kind of coming and giving them all a pep talk over Skype, of course, or Zoom, or however it's done. We're down to our top 7. Utica, Gottmik, Rosé, Simone, Candy, Olivia, and Tina. For me, it's Rosé, Simone, and Gottmik are right at the top. They've been killing consistently a lot of challenges. Yes, I'm saying this at the beginning of the episode. For me, I would want Utica in the top 4, but she seems to be slipping, or at least in the eyes of the judges. I don't know that we've had a kooky fashion queen of this level. I would say maybe Manila would be a good example of someone who consistently had amazing, strong editorial point of view fashion that's also a little campy. I know a lot of people are not. So I have been watching Twitter when I'm watching. I'm trying to get off of most social media, so I'm looking at Twitter but I'm not logged in, so it's just a general hashtag. A lot of really strong opinions. So I'm just going to go off of my opinion. Might be controversial, might not, might be a common point of view, might not, I don't know. But for me, Utica deserves to be in the top 4. Very interesting point of view. To me, it felt like when we get to the runway, took some of the criticism from past. It seemed less campy to me, but some people would be not. So anyway, they're going to do, we see them film their commercial, we see their final commercial, we see their final runway. So there's kind of 3 things. Gonna say Dr. Phil was live tweeting Drag Race. I kind of don't think it was him. I think he was hacked. That's just my, not that I don't think at first I was like, oh, Dr. Phil's watching, but then I saw some of the replies that were like overtly sexual in a way that I don't think a middle-aged straight man would talk, let alone Dr. Phil. So just, anyway, just gotta say that. We do hear a story about Candy being attacked. Never appropriate. This I can just blanket say, just needs to be said, you shouldn't be physically attacking people unless they're attacking someone first, or you need to physically get in between them because they're having some sort of weird verbal assault. But the idea that someone would come up and just attack them from behind and break their arm, never appropriate. Never. That's all I have to say about that. Okay. Anyway, so for me, Utica. For me, Olivia is strong, but just isn't holding up this season against the other. And then Candy and Tina, I just haven't seen anything from them that says top 4 in me. That's just me. That's just me. I don't wish them harm. I certainly don't. I'm not on Twitter tweeting at them and telling them that I hate them. I see those tweets. I don't get why you can't just say, I didn't like this outfit, as opposed to like, you're trash. Totally inappropriate to me. Anyway, so we see them, they're all going to do a pop can, which hence Pop Goes the Queen. This comes up every season. We've done soup, we've done pop, We've done perfume. We've done books. That was Raven season. They had the book. I think that was the first time they did it, but that was the second season? Someone help me. Anyway, we've seen a lot of different things. Boats, stuff like that. Anyway, so they do it. For me, I thought Tina's was a hot mess. I thought Rosé was delightful. Olivia was a little cute, but ends on a good note. These are my exact notes. Simone, solid as always. And just constantly funny. Utica, confusing, but I saw potential in the clips we saw. Candy, they thought it was funny. That's my note. They thought it was funny. I thought it's weird to me that Utica's being seen as one note and they're not giving Candy consistently that same thing. And then Gottmik was kind of a mess. And those are my notes on the filming. Now, to be fair, a lot of times they really hype up these filming, and then when we see the final product, I think it's better than they think it is, and they're like, "Wow, it never went anywhere." And I was like, "I thought it was fine," and that's usually the case. Very seldom do I go, "Oh, that was amazing," and they're like, "It's terrible." But it's usually like I go, "Oh, that was fine. That was middle for me." They're like, "Oh, it was awful," or they're like, "Oh, it was hilarious," and I thought, "Oh, it was fine," which is kind of what we're gonna get to here. So anyway. They have beast mode is the runway. I wrote for Candy, I hated her look. That is not me attacking Candy and saying that she's a bad person, but I just hated this look. I hate when they do these super tight looks where it's clearly that they have no hair underneath. I've said that before. The outfit to me looked incredibly cheap. I didn't get how it was beast necessarily. I did not like it. Tina's the look was interesting. I didn't totally get beast, but I think that's neither here nor there. Simone was a foxy lady. A fox is a beast. So I feel like maybe there was some pushback from people who didn't like these things, but I feel like the word beast is very vague. Do you mean animal? Do you specifically mean scary monster? And I feel like none of these really were like, okay, foxy lady, but it was such a good look. Utica, I thought it was good. I thought it was very like monster creature scary. I don't have command. I don't even know what that means. Candy, oh, those are for commercials. Okay. So, I've said before, I'm not a big fan of just like the complete bare chest with teeny tiny pasties, because when they walk out to me, they just look like normal boy nipples. And so for me, it's not a transformative look. I don't dislike the look, but I kind of feel like I'm surprised they haven't said something to Gottmik about relying on Gottmik's body. That's kind of a surprise to me that it hasn't been brought up as just a general critique, that every week it's like almost completely nude with some stuff. And so I'm kind of surprised that, you know, they're so tough on like the leotard queens, but they haven't said anything to Gottmik. And I felt like this was the week to say it, because the commercial was weak. It just didn't tell. It almost told a story, but not really. A lot of people pointed out that a lot of these were a lot like Delusion, Jinx Monsoon, and I think there's just only so many ways you can do this branding challenge, and I think there's not a lot of like ultra unique takes where it's. And like, if someone had been like waking up from a dream, I would have said, okay, it's almost exactly beat for beat. But it's kind of like almost a genre. I didn't think Tina's was funny. I thought Gottmik's was messy. I thought Rosé's was playful. I don't know what I wrote for Shimon. Outslaying, maybe? Candy, it was not as funny as they thought it was. These are just kind of my general. I thought Utica's was bizarre but interesting, but not so interesting that I felt like, oh, this was a top. So for me, I felt like I was expecting to see Tina and frankly Gottmik in the bottom. That's kind of how I felt, was that Gottmik's was just that bad that it deserved to be in the bottom. I'm okay though with Utica. I thought Tina, Candy, or I felt Candy's outfit was so weak, and I just didn't think the commercial was that funny. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not seeing. Maybe sometimes this happens when we see a lot of someone behind the scenes that I mean, I think that's kind of what happened with, not to kind of beat on Silky, but I feel like sometimes when we see, like Britta was the same, where we see something behind the scenes that it kind of affects, like, you're just not as into it on the stage. And like they think Candy's super funny, and I think if it's funny, it's accidentally funny. I don't know. This is not me hating on her. I don't want it to be, I just don't see the performance to where I go, oh, clearly she's in the top. And they seem to think, they seem to have the impression of Candy that we had of Denali, which is that she's so much better than we're seeing on stage. Anyway, we end up with Candy being safe. So I guess the way that they did that made it seem like she was third good. Simone wins and Rosé win. Okay, I would have put Rosé above Simone, but Simone was super strong, so I don't really have a problem with it. Olivia, and I also didn't think, I don't even have Olivia written down. Look at that. I almost forgot to write down Olivia, the whole thing. Sorry, but I guess that's kind of my thing. Wasn't terrible, wasn't outstanding. For me, it was a very safe, safe to high, because I felt like there was a lot of people who missed. Got Mick was safe, which, based on if you're looking at overall scorecard, sure, if we're going after this. So Utica's in the bottom. There was some contention about Utica versus Tina. They did two very different things. Tina was dancing and bopping and moving so much, I had a hard time even telling if she knew the words. Not that she was missing the words, but just that there was so much activity. And I always go back to the Sonique versus, and I can picture their face, Two of Hearts. Oh, I can't even think of it. I know you know who I'm talking about. Where one of them did this really tight performance directly in line with the song. And then Sonique was doing like backbends and flips and all that. And they're like, this isn't a gymnastics thing. It's going to drive me crazy. I can picture them. Gosh, it was an early season. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, and that's what I felt the difference was. I felt Utica was performing the song to the judges. Whereas I felt Tina was bopping around stage and was like, lip syncing, but it was more of like they were doing a dance performance while lip syncing as opposed to lip syncing a performance. Does that make sense? That's just my personal opinion. I'm fine with Tina going home. I felt like when Carson Kressley goes, I've been a fan of Tina for years. I followed her. I thought that, see, that's what they're seeing that I'm not seeing, is that they're bringing in this off stage performance, and we just haven't seen that from Tina. Don't hate Tina. Totally open to learning more about Tina, totally interested in seeing what she does. I would go to a performance. I just didn't see it in this competition. I just didn't see Tina, and frankly, or Candy really standing out as this amazing performer in the show now. That's just my opinion. So Utica stays, Tina goes home, but we're at this point, this means Utica's gonna go. There's just no way, unless Utica knocks it out the next couple, which the preview does not look like it. Utica's sent several people home, has been in the bottom a number of times. I wouldn't always say fairly. I feel like they don't appreciate Utica's looks as much as, you know what I mean? And they go, oh, and I thought Utica was learning. We didn't have nearly the campy thing. They really hated the performance, but I kind of feel like, what was she supposed to do, a ballad to My Humps? You know, people are like, oh, I'm sick of this comedy thing. Okay, well, I like it. So overall, I'm not super upset with who went home and what's going on. I feel like it's almost an inevitability of the way this competition has gone this whole season. Like when Denali went home, I was super bummed, but I wasn't shocked because based on what they said they're seeing, it seemed almost inevitable. But it does look like, I think who should be in the top should be, the top three should be Gottmik, Rosé, and Simone. I just feel like that's a given. That's if they do a top four, which sometimes they kind of do, depending on the situation, I think they're going to put Candy in there. They seem to really like Candy. I don't see it. I would have preferred Utica, but it just seems like they're not going to do that. I think Olivia, super strong, super sweet, amazing smile. Just doesn't seem to be standing out as a winner yet. And I think, and who else is that? For me, I would like to see Candy go home just because I just don't see number one winner, and I haven't seen that this season. Okay, that's it. Tell me who you think. Who do you think's gonna get into the final based on the judging, and who do you think deserves to be the final? You can do final 3, final 4. Just depends kind of on how you are feeling. Okay, bye.